Snow fell in slow, heavy sheets that Christmas Eve, the kind of snowfall that made the whole world feel muted, like someone had wrapped the night in cotton. Houses across Pinebrook glowed with twinkling lights and warm laughter spilled out from windows, muffled but unmistakably joyful. The town was wrapped in holiday comfort. Except for one corner. Except for the old, barely functioning bus stop at the edge of the shopping plaza, the one with a cracked glass wall and a bench that had lost two of its bolts so it tilted just enough to be uncomfortable. There, a small family sat huddled together like fragile birds in a storm. Emily Carter's lips were turning blue. She didn't even realize it anymore. Numbness had replaced the sharp sting of the wind. Her arms wrapped around her children tightly as she curled herself into a human shield around them. 8-year-old Lily shivered beneath the thin blanket, her cheeks flushed red from cold. 5-year-old Noah was worse, his small body shook uncontrollably, and he whimpered each time the wind cut through their blanket. "Mama, I'm tired," Noah whispered, his voice so soft Emily had to bend down to hear. "I know, sweetheart." She kissed his forehead, just a little longer, but her voice broke. She didn't have the strength to lie convincingly anymore. Her car, their home for the last 3 months, was parked half a block away behind the grocery store. But the engine had died earlier that day, and they couldn't run the heater. Emily had hoped, desperately, that maybe a bus would take them to the downtown shelter where, with luck, someone would find room for them. But the schedule taped to the pole mocked her with its "Holiday service ends 7 p.m. notice. It was 11:48 p.m. Her eyelashes trembled. "God, please," she whispered, hugging her kids tighter. "Please help me, help them." Snowflakes collected in her hair, sticking like tiny white stars. Dash dash dash. A block away, the only sound was the crunch of boots on frozen ground. Jack Ryland walked with his head slightly lowered, the grocery bag swinging from one gloved hand. He'd spent the last 20 minutes convincing himself that cooking a Christmas meal alone wasn't as pathetic as it sounded. Just another night, he muttered to himself. But he didn't believe it. Years of serving overseas, years of returning to an apartment that never felt like home, and now, holidays spent with nothing but silence. He inhaled sharply, trying to push back the feeling of emptiness. Then he saw movement near the bus stop. At first he thought it was a shadow. Then maybe teenagers fooling around. But as he approached, his trained senses kicked in: posture, temperature, breathing patterns, silhouettes. 3 figures, 2 very small. His brows tightened. Kids, out here, at this hour, in this cold. He changed course immediately. As he got closer, the scene unfolded: a woman holding 2 children against her body, shaking with cold, exhaustion, and something deeper, fear. The kind he had seen on battlefields, in refugees, in people who had nothing left to lose. Jack stopped a few feet away so he wouldn't startle them. "Ma'am, are you okay?" The woman flinched. Even in the dim light, he could see her instinctively pulling her children closer, like a lioness ready to defend her cubs. "We're fine," she said too quickly. "We're just waiting for a bus." Jack exhaled softly. The lie was obvious. The buses stopped hours ago. Emily swallowed hard, visibly trying to hide the panic that shot across her face. "Oh, I didn't realize." Noah whimpered and buried his face in her coat. Lily held her mother's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. Jack crouched down a little to look at the kids without towering over them. "Hey there," he said gently, keeping his voice soft. "You all look freezing. Can I help?" Emily shook her head. "No, thank you. We'll manage." Jack looked at their clothes, the blanket, soaked through and stiffening from the cold, and the way Emily's hands trembled uncontrollably. "You're not managing," he said quietly. "You're freezing." A gust of icy wind blew between them. Lily let out a tiny cry before she could stop herself. Emily's eyes fluttered shut in shame. Jack waited a moment, then asked carefully, "Where are you trying to go?" Emily hesitated. Her lips shook. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "Anywhere warm. Do you have a home?" A long silence. Finally, barely audible, "A car." Jack inhaled sharply through his nose. He knew what it meant. He had seen families living in their vehicles before, people whose lives had unraveled one thread at a time until all that was left was survival. He took off his heavy military coat and moved slowly so he wouldn't alarm them. Emily's eyes widened. "No, no, you don't have to." But he gently draped it over all 3 of them. Warmth enveloped them instantly. Noah leaned into the heat with a soft sigh. Lily tucked her hands into the oversized sleeves. Emily closed her eyes and exhaled a shaky breath she'd been holding for hours. You don't know us, she whispered. Why would you do this? Jack's voice was steady, calm, warm, the voice of a man who had spent years saving people in dangerous places. Because it's freezing, he said simply. And because no one should be out here on Christmas. Emily stared at him through snow-dusted lashes, searching his face for danger. But she found nothing except sincerity, and something else. Something she hadn't seen in a long time. Kindness. My place is just a few blocks away, Jack said softly. You can warm up, eat something, just for tonight. Emily hesitated, torn between fear and desperation. I don't want my kids in danger, she whispered. Jack nodded. I understand, and you shouldn't trust strangers easily. He gently set the grocery bag down and stepped back a little, giving her space, giving her control. But I won't leave you here to freeze. Emily looked at her children. Lily's lips were purple. Noah was drifting in and out of consciousness, a warning sign. Her heart thudded painfully. She couldn't risk their lives because she was afraid. She lifted her eyes to Jack again. Just tonight, he promised. Emily's voice cracked. Okay, we'll go with you. Relief washed over Jack's face as he stepped forward carefully. He picked up Noah, who instantly wrapped his arms around Jack's neck, seeking warmth. Jack lifted the grocery bag with his other hand. Let's get you all out of this cold. Emily stood, legs trembling. Lily grabbed her mother's hand, and with her other hand, she reached out and took hold of Jack's sleeve, trusting him in the innocent way children do when adults show genuine care. The snow fell thicker as they began walking. Emily whispered, "Thank you, whoever you are." Jack glanced at her, his breath visible in the freezing night. "I'm Jack," he said. "And you're safe now, I promise." For the first time in months, Emily believed someone. The walk to Jack's house should have taken only 8 minutes, but for Emily, it felt like a journey across continents. Every step was heavy, her legs barely responding. The adrenaline that had kept her upright for hours was fading, replaced by the bruising truth of exhaustion. Jack adjusted Noah in his arms, pulling the boy closer to his chest to shield him from the wind. The child's small fingers clung to his jacket, and Jack felt a fierce protectiveness burn through him, the kind he'd felt in the Navy when one of his team members was hurt. "You're doing great," he said quietly to Emily, noticing her staggering steps. "I'm okay," she whispered, though she clearly wasn't. Lily walked between them, holding her mother's hand with one glove and pinching the edge of Jack's coat with the other, her small boots crunching in perfect rhythm beside his long, steady strides. The streets were silent. Curtains glowed with warm lights behind frosted windows, families laughing, opening gifts, sharing meals. Emily tried not to look. It felt like staring through a glass wall into a life she used to have, one she could no longer reach. Jack's home appeared at the end of the street, a sturdy, dark wood cabin-style house with warm yellow lights glowing in the windows, a porch wrapped in a simple string of white Christmas lamps. Snow had piled up on the railing, untouched and peaceful. "This is it," Jack said softly. Emily froze for a moment. Cozy lights, holiday decorations, stability, a life so different from their reality that fear flickered in her eyes. Jack noticed immediately. "Hey," he said gently, turning to her. "If anything feels wrong, if you feel uncomfortable, you tell me. We'll figure something else out." His voice wasn't defensive, or annoyed, just understanding. Emily swallowed, nodded, and followed him up the porch steps. Jack unlocked the door, then stepped inside first, flicking on the lights. A warm golden glow filled the entryway. "You're safe," he assured her again, holding the door open. Cold air whooshed in behind her as she stepped through. The moment she crossed the threshold, the heat wrapped around her like a hug. Her knees almost buckled from relief. Jack quickly removed his boots and carried Noah to the sofa near the fireplace. "Make yourselves comfortable," he said. "I'll get the fire going." Emily helped Lily out of her damp shoes, placing them near a mat by the door. The house smelled faintly of pinewood and something warm, cinnamon from a candle that had burned earlier. Noah blinked awake as Jack laid him down gently. "Are we inside?" he murmured. "Yeah, buddy," Jack said quietly, draping a thick, soft blanket over him. "You're safe now." He knelt in front of the fireplace and began stacking logs like he'd done it 1,000 times. Within minutes, flames crackled, casting dancing shadows across the room. Emily watched him work, feeling a strange mixture of gratitude and disbelief. Her throat tightened. How did a stranger care more in 10 minutes than people she'd known her whole life? As if sensing her thoughts, Jack turned his head. "You're freezing. Sit closer." Emily hesitated before finally kneeling near the fire, stretching her trembling hands toward the heat. Lily sat beside her, cheeks brightening as the warmth seeped into her skin. Jack stood and walked toward the kitchen. "Let me get you something warm to drink." Emily opened her mouth to protest. She wasn't used to people doing things for her, but exhaustion silenced her. A moment later, the sound of boiling water filled the air. Jack returned with 3 steaming mugs. "Careful," he warned. "Hot chocolate for the kids. Tea for you." Emily stared at the mug like it was priceless. I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," Jack said simply, settling onto the sofa where Noah lay. "Drink. Warm up." For the first time since autumn, Emily felt heat spread through her chest, not just from the tea, but from the way he'd said it. Calm, firm, kind. Lily sipped her hot chocolate with both hands, letting out a soft, that made Jack chuckle gently. When they all had something warm, Jack finally spoke softly. "Do you want to tell me what happened?" Emily lowered her gaze. Talking about it felt like pulling apart wounds that hadn't healed, but Jack's eyes held no judgment, only quiet patience. "My husband died last year," she began softly, fingers tightening around the mug. "He fell from a construction site." Jack listened intently. He was the only one working. "When he died, everything collapsed. Bills piled up. I tried to work, but daycare was too expensive. Then rent went up, and then," she swallowed, voice cracking. "We lost the apartment." The fire crackled. Lily leaned against her mother's side. Noah, half asleep, reached out blindly for Emily's hand. She clasped it immediately. "We've been living in our car since October," she finished, tears finally escaping. "I tried every shelter, but they're always full. And tonight," she broke into quiet sobs. Jack's jaw tightened, not in anger at her, but at the world that let this happen to a grieving mother and 2 innocent kids. "You're not alone anymore," he said softly. She wiped her cheeks. "We'll only stay tonight. I don't want to take advantage." "You're not taking advantage." Jack moved closer, kneeling so he was eye level with her. "You and the kids can stay here until you get on your feet." Emily shook her head. "No, I can't." "You can," he said firmly. "This house is too big for one person. I have a guest room downstairs and a loft upstairs. And trust me," his voice softened. "It's been a long time since this place had life in it." Lily looked at him hopefully. "We can really stay." Jack smiled warmly. "Yeah, you can." Emily covered her mouth with her hand as a sob burst from her chest, this time not of pain, but relief. Jack reached for the grocery bag he had brought earlier and set it on the counter. "Let me make you all something to eat." "You don't have to," Emily began again. He raised an eyebrow. "I'm a former Navy SEAL. Cooking dinner is easy compared to half the things I've done. Sit, rest." He started unpacking food, bread, soup, pasta, vegetables, while Emily watched him as though he were some impossible miracle sent in human form. She lowered her head, whispering to herself, "I don't know why you're helping us, but thank you." "Thank you." Jack overheard but pretended not to. As the fire crackled and warmth filled the home, something shifted, something neither of them could yet name. 3 lost souls had walked into his house. And instead of chaos, the home felt whole for the first time in years.